Hi, and welcome back to Pinky Boo Hauntings. I'm your witchy host, Shy, and I'll be your guide to all things paranormal, weird, and spooky. Today, we're talking about my childhood home and the haunting I endured that led to me being attacked by an entity. I've actually already told this story before on an old channel, but I want to tell it again because this is the experience that made me finally believe fully in the paranormal. I was born and raised in a house in North Carolina. It was a decent size for me, my mom, and my dad. And no, it was nothing like what you would think of when you hear the words haunted house. It was bright, open windows all through the house. No part of this house was dark or dingy. As long as the sun was out, you didn't need to turn the lights on. I didn't live in the middle of nowhere either. In fact, I lived not far from Main Street, with houses on each side of me. It was a great place to grow up, if not for one thing, which of course was that it was haunted. At first, I didn't know or understand this. I've always felt weird and scared of my house, but I didn't know why, especially at night. It almost felt like a different house. Even though I always felt something there, it was so much stronger and scarier at night. The earliest memories I have of this feeling was in my room. For no good reason, even when I was very young, I hated my windows. I always felt like I was being watched. It made me hate sleeping in my room. Yes, this could just be a stupid kid being stupid and scared of nothing, but it does lead to weirder things happening. It also made me really hate looking out windows for a long time. And again, it also made me hate sleeping in my room. So instead, I slept in the living room a lot. I think up until I was like 7 or 8. But even there, I still felt something. I just ignored it by having the TV on. And this is probably one of the first memories I have of something weird going on. I remember one night clearly, even now. See, while I was allowed to sleep in the living room with the TV on, I had to keep the volume off. And this night, I remember wishing I could have it on really badly. I don't remember why, just that I really wanted it on. But I ended up going to sleep with it still off. Next thing I know, my dad is waking me up, yelling at me for turning the volume up all the way. I should say that we had surround sound and he said it was all the way up. Even as a kid, I slept hard, so I didn't wake up until he woke me up. So I didn't know how loud it was, but I know he was pissed. I told him I didn't do it, that I was asleep the whole time, but he, of course, didn't believe me. Even to this day, I don't understand how this happened. We had one of those rack things that hold the remotes, and they were still in there. And I was out cold, so I couldn't have gotten up and turned it on. This wasn't the only time this happened. I remember a few other times either waking up to the volume being up or being woken up by my dad yelling at me, never believing me when I told him I didn't do it. I was confused and started wondering if I was doing it somehow. After some time, I slowly stopped sleeping in the living room because of this. Now, fast forward a few years. I still got weird feelings and felt like I was being watched throughout the house at night. But nothing happened until I was around 13 or 14. Up until now, I wasn't sure what was going on. I don't even remember thinking my house was haunted. Just thought it was nothing, and thanks to my dad, I thought it was in my head. But this all changed when I started to see something in the hall. But before I get ahead of myself, let me go back some. Like I said before, I never could shake the feeling that something was there. But over time, I started feeling it more in the living room and in the hall, just outside of my bedroom. While it scared me as a little kid, it didn't start feeling dark until I got older. It slowly started feeling darker, and I felt a hatred to it. I was never scared of the dark until this thing started to show itself. It was to the point that when I had to go to the bathroom at night, I'd stick my hand out into the hall real quick to turn the light on and run to the bathroom, turning that one on as fast as I could too. All the while, I would keep my head down and not look into the hall or the mirror in my bathroom. I just felt like if I looked in it, something other than me would be staring back. And I'm not about to have that happen. Because if there's one thing to know about me, when weird stuff happens, I'm out. I don't mess with that kind of stuff, even though it seems to like messing with me. The hall, on the other hand, I knew why I didn't want to look there. It was there that the Shadow Man stood. No, not this Shadow Man. This isn't a Disney movie after all. The Shadow Man I'm talking about is more commonly called a shadow person. When I first saw him, I didn't know what to think of it. I thought it was just my head playing tricks on me. But the more I saw the thing, the more I started to believe it was there. It looked like a physical being standing there, only it was pitch black in color. No details could be seen on it besides the silhouette of its form. And from this silhouette, you can make out some kind of long coat. Kind of like a trench coat, but I don't know for sure. You could also see the outline of a cowboy hat or something similar. On top of this, it was tall. I don't remember just how tall, and maybe it just seemed taller to me because I'm kind of a shorty, even more so back then. But what I do remember is that it towered over me. And that was enough for me. Now, I know what you're probably thinking. It was probably just something in the hall making the shadow. My dad tried to tell me something similar. He was telling me it was a shadow from the windows just down the hall. And I thought that too. The problem was, there wasn't anything that could cast a shadow. There wasn't anything in front of the window or outside of it. And this thing wasn't always there. If it was coming from either, it shouldn't have just appeared out of nowhere one day. It should have always been there. Plus, the darker feeling I got around the same time as this thing showed up. Trust me, I didn't just jump to it being a ghost or anything like that. I tried to figure out what was going on. On top of these two things, other strange things started to happen, building up to probably one of the worst experiences I've had in the paranormal. I don't know the exact timeline of most of this stuff. I don't even remember if this started at the same time that the Shadow Man showed up, before or after first seeing it. I just know all of this was connected. I think one of the first of these experiences, if not the first, was when I was in the laundry room. It was a small room with windows across two of the walls, and in the corner were where the windows met. We had a place to put our clean clothes that we hadn't put up yet. One night, I was going in there to get clothes for school the next day. While I was out there, I couldn't shake this feeling that I was being watched by something outside the window, right next to me. I try to ignore it, but I was getting freaked out just standing there. I don't know how long I was standing there. The only thing I know for sure is that the feeling was building up steadily. It felt like something was trying to tell me to leave. And when I didn't do so, it got mad. And the next thing I know, the window right next to me started to rattle. Now, there are a few things I need to point out as to why this scared me to the point that it did. First thing is, while I did live in a one-story house, the house wasn't on even ground. So, the first half of our house was on ground level, while the back half looked like it was a two-story house. Along with my room and the bathroom, the laundry room was part of the back half of the house, which means there was no way for someone to actually be outside of this window. Not that I wouldn't have been able to see them. Another thing that you need to understand is that this is my childhood home. By the time all of this started to happen, I had already lived in this house for close to 14 years. The only time I've ever seen those windows rattle is when there were very strong winds. And every time that happened, you would hear whistling long before it would get to that point. And the last thing is that there were no trees or anything near this window to hit it. There was absolutely no reason why it should have rattled like it did. To say the least, I got the hell out of there. I think after this happened, I stopped going into that room after it got dark. I still felt something staring at me every time I went in there, but I would do whatever I could to not go in there after dark. The other thing I have very vivid memories of was in the bathroom. While I always felt something weird about our mirror, that wasn't the scariest thing to happen in there. At least I never actually saw anything in there. I just had a really weird feeling about it. The shower, on the other hand, well, let's just say it got to the point that I would do whatever I had to not take one after dark. I don't know how common this is, but our shower was dumb in its design that it had a window in it. The glass was frosted so people couldn't see in and you couldn't see out, luckily. But it was still weird taking a shower, standing in front of a big window. The reason I'm telling you this is because, once again, I had something messing with a window that I was standing beside. This time in probably the most vulnerable position for a 14-year-old girl. It started the same as the laundry room. I would feel something staring at me, but I would ignore it because even though I was used to this window, I was a teenage girl, and of course, I was a bit paranoid. But the feeling wouldn't stop, no matter how much I tried to fight the feeling. And once again, the thing I felt got mad. This time, though, it knocked on the window. Like it actually sounded like someone on the other side knocking on the window. And when I looked, there was a pair of red eyes staring at me. Yes, I know how much this sounds like a crappy horror movie, and I wouldn't believe it myself if it didn't happen to me. And I bet you can guess what I did. I ran like the bitch I am. I still had soap on me and barely got my mom's house coat on before I ran to my parents' room to tell them. I'm pretty sure I took the glass door off the tracks getting out of the shower too. They checked the window, but nothing was there, of course. And once again, my dad brushed it off and told me it was all in my head. So I finished my shower sitting on the floor because I was a scared little bitch. After that, I hated taking a shower at night because I always felt watched, and sometimes, whatever it was, would knock on the window. I never saw the eyes again, luckily. I was scared the rest of the time that I lived there that I would, though. Other than these things, I don't remember much outside of the fear I had in some places in my house at night. That was until one night. After a while of going back and forth with my dad about it being in my head or it being real, I started to question what I was seeing in the hall. So, one night, I finally built up some courage. And when I needed to go to the bathroom, I decided to get a good look at what I was seeing, or to see if my dad was right. I stared at this thing for a long time, trying to figure it out. Trying to figure out if it was real or if it was in my head. But this thing was there. It was a solid mass. And if I wasn't sure that it was truly in my hallway, this thing moved. It moved, and my dumbass didn't run. The one time I should have run, I didn't. The reason I say this is because it didn't just move. It turned to me and lunged at me. As it did, I could see the outline of its arms change into massive claws. And this thing pushed me into the wall behind me. I was frozen for what felt like forever, but what was probably only a minute or two. By the time I felt like I could move again, I realized this thing was gone. The feelings of something being in the house didn't leave, but after this moment, I never actually saw the shadow man again. I still could feel something watching me through the house. I still hated taking showers after dark. I still hated walking through the house in the dark and would turn the lights on before I went out to get a drink or go to the bathroom. But I never saw that thing again. It was a scary experience that I would wish on no one. But without it, I probably wouldn't be here today. All the things I felt through the years, I would have brushed off as just my imagination. My abilities would be pushed down for good. And I truly feel like a piece of me wouldn't be whole. I know when I shut myself off for a while, I felt something was missing. Even though I was still very scared of it all at the time, I kept catching myself wishing for it back. Even missing the spooky visitors. It just didn't feel right. And I'm honestly happy to have it back. I've become the witch I am today because I've finally embraced that part of me. I've embraced my power fully. And now, when freaky shit comes to bother me, I have the strength to shoo it away as I tell it to fuck off. Little me would be so proud of that. I just know it. But for now, the coven is adjourned. See you next time. Bye.